The mist rolled across the ancient hills of England like a long-forgotten memory waking from sleep. In that slow, drifting fog lay the story of 1,000 years, of kings who rose, kingdoms that fell, battles that scarred the land, and a legacy that shaped the modern world. England's tale did not begin with glory. It began in chaos, fire, and the clash of tribes fighting for survival. Long before the first stone castles or the sound of church bells, England was a patchwork of small kingdoms: Wessex, Mercia, Northumbria, East Anglia. Each fought fiercely to claim the island's heart. Among them rose a young prince named Alfred, chased into the marshes by Viking invaders. It seemed England would fall forever into foreign hands. But Alfred did not surrender. In the wet marshlands, he planned, gathered loyal warriors, and studied the tactics of his enemies. One dawn, with the rising sun glowing through the fog, he led a ferocious counterattack. The shield walls clashed, axes rang, and England's fate hung in the balance. When the battle ended, Alfred stood victorious. The Vikings retreated, and for the first time, the dream of a united England flickered like a candle in the dark. Decades later, that candle became flame. Kings after Alfred pushed the borders, united the people, and gave the land a name that would echo across centuries: England, land of the English. But peace was never meant to last. In 1066, 3 different armies marched toward the English throne. First came Harald Hardrada from Norway, a giant of a man whose presence struck fear in seasoned warriors. He met the English King Harold Godwinson at Stamford Bridge in a battle so brutal that the river ran red. The English won, but the victory left them exhausted, and William, Duke of Normandy, was already crossing the Channel. On the green slopes of Hastings, England's destiny shifted again. Arrows darkened the sky, shields splintered, and the ground trembled with the weight of armored horses. King Harold fell, and William became the conqueror. Under his rule, stone castles rose like giants across the land, forests were claimed for kings, and the old English world faded into a new Norman age. The centuries that followed shaped England into something greater than a conquered kingdom. Kings and queens played their part in a long, dramatic saga, some powerful, some weak, some wise, and some cruel. In the 12th century, Henry II, brilliant and restless, crafted laws that still echo in modern courts. Yet his life was torn apart by conflict with his own sons and by the fiery spirit of his wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine. Even the church clashed with the crown when Thomas Becket, the Archbishop of Canterbury, was slain inside his own cathedral, an act that shocked the world. Then came the age of Magna Carta. King John, stubborn and feared, pushed his barons to rebellion. At Runnymede, under the open sky, he was forced to sign a document that limited his own power and planted the seed of rights and liberty that would one day spread across the world. England was learning to balance the sword with the law. But peace is a fragile thing. The 14th century shattered it with plague, famine, and a war that would last more than 100 years. The 100 Years' War, fought between England and France, became a saga of heroism and tragedy. English archers armed with longbows defeated armies many times their size. Villages in France trembled at the approach of English forces. It was during these wars that a humble English prince earned the name Black Prince, feared by enemies and honored by allies. Yet even victories could not last. The rise of Joan of Arc turned the tide for France, and England's grip slipped until almost nothing remained. Inside England's borders, another storm brewed. The 15th century saw families of royal blood, York and Lancaster, tear the nation apart in the Wars of the Roses. Fields that once fed peaceful villages became battlegrounds. Finally, a new family rose, the Tudors. Henry Tudor defeated Richard III at Bosworth Field, ending the wars and beginning a dynasty that would define England forever. His son, Henry VIII was a king of contradictions, charming and dangerous, brilliant and ruthless. His desire for a son led him to break from the Catholic Church, creating a new English church and reshaping faith across the kingdom. His daughter, Elizabeth I, inherited a land divided by religion and threatened by powerful enemies. Yet she ruled with intelligence, charisma, and iron determination. Under her reign, England transformed into a cultural and naval power. Shakespeare wrote plays that would endure for centuries. Sailors like Francis Drake circled the globe. And when the mighty Spanish Armada sailed toward England's shores, Elizabeth's words to her soldiers, "I have the heart and stomach of a king," became legend. The English navy triumphed, and the world saw England's strength. But after Elizabeth's death, storm clouds gathered again. The Stuart kings struggled to control a nation growing confident in its identity. Tensions between the crown and the people erupted into civil war. Brothers fought brothers, villages burned, and England's king, Charles I, was captured and executed. For a moment, England became a republic under Oliver Cromwell, but the experiment did not last. The monarchy returned, but power had changed forever. Kings would share authority with Parliament, and the people's voice would grow louder with each passing generation. As centuries turned, England expanded far beyond its island borders. Through trade, exploration, and empire, English influence reached Asia, Africa, the Americas, and the Pacific. The Industrial Revolution, born in English factories and coal mines, reshaped humanity itself. Smoke rose from new cities, machines forged iron and steel, and railways stitched the land together. With progress came hardship, child labor, long hours, dangerous conditions, but also incredible innovation. Scientists and inventors transformed daily life. English ideas of law, rights, and government spread across the world. Yet no rise is without struggle. 2 world wars tested England's strength like never before. In muddy trenches of the First World War, soldiers endured horror few could describe. In the Second World War, bombs rained on London night after night. Yet the spirit of the people held firm. Families huddled in underground stations singing songs as the city shook above them. Pilots soared into battle in fragile Spitfires to defend their skies. Prime Minister Winston Churchill's words, "We shall never surrender," echoed through streets filled with rebel and hope. And England did not surrender. It emerged battered but unbroken. In the decades that followed, it rebuilt itself, adapting to a new world where empires faded and cooperation became the future. The nation evolved, embracing diversity, democracy, and modern identity while preserving the ancient traditions that shaped it. Castles still stood over green hills. Cathedrals still filled the air with music. The crown remained a symbol of continuity through changing times. Today, England is a blend of past and present. London skyscrapers rising beside medieval towers, modern universities standing where monks once copied manuscripts, and bustling streets filled with voices from every corner of the earth. Its story is not finished. It continues every day, written by millions of people carrying the legacy of 1,000 years. But beneath all the change, the spirit of England endures, a land forged by struggle and shaped by dreams, a place where history whispers from every stone and every river, a kingdom that rose, transformed, endured, and left a mark on the world greater than its small island shores could ever suggest. 1,000 years of power, legacy, triumph, and tragedy, and the story is still unfolding with the turning of every new dawn.